Hello, upper cervical doctors and students. Welcome back to the UCM podcast. I'm your host for today, Dr. Bill Davis, and I'm excited to talk with you about a very important topic, and that is hiring and keeping the right team in 2025. We're going to talk about how to scale without burnout or turnover. This is a crucial topic. It is absolutely essential no matter what practice growth stage you're in to be able to hire good team members and to keep them for the long term. So let's get into this. So here's the real world struggle, right? If you've ever hired someone who you were sure was the right fit and only to see that fall apart months later, you're not alone. Many upper cervical doctors face the same frustration, finding great people who will stay and thrive in their practice. And so our goal for today is to learn how to build a team that performs, stays aligned, and grows with you as your practice grows. Because the true cost of turnover is extremely expensive. It drains momentum and greatly impacts your culture. Just some statistics on this. The average cost based on data from this year, average cost is 3 to 4 times the annual salary of a team member. But there's also hidden costs of how it impacts the morale of the rest of the team, how it impacts your patients, and even your new patient flow. When you lose a team member and you have to you feel that pressure and don't have that margin within the practice, it can cause your new patients to not come in. And the consistency of your patient experience can also dramatically be impacted by turnover. You can't scale with a revolving door in your practice, right? If you have a revolving door where you're consistently having to replace team members or add new ones, you want to build a place where people want to stay long term. So the key thing when it comes to hiring is you want to hire to solve bottlenecks, not fill gaps, right? Every hire should remove a growth barrier, not just fill a hole. And that's the thing that happens so frequently when it comes to upper cervical practice, or really any business, is hiring too late, right? A lot of times we hire way after we should be, right? We want to hire so that we can keep growing, not hire because we've grown so much that we're now drowning and we have to bring somebody in. And so a great thing to ask yourself is, what's our biggest bottleneck right now, right? Who could free me up, or what could free me up to multiply my impact, right? When you're getting into that place where you're realizing, a really simple one to think about is when to hire an associate, right? If you're in a solo practice and you are, collecting $35,000, $40,000 a month, and you have consistent new patients coming in, and frequently at that point you may have a waiting list where new patients are not being able to be seen for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it may be. And that is a clear time where another doctor would solve that bottleneck, right? It's literally you just don't have enough time to see your existing patients and the new patients that you want to get in as quickly as possible, because they're sick and suffering. You don't want them to have to wait. And so an associate being hired in that situation is an instant win when you bring in the right kind of person. And that's the type of intentional hiring that you want to do, where you're building leverage and not just busyness, right? Where you're taking what is already happening within the practice and you're creating more margin so that the practice can continue to grow. So let's talk about 4 key roles to hire in a growing upper cervical practice. I'm going to talk about these as they relate to different practice growth stages, when you would be thinking about hiring these different these different roles within an upper cervical chiropractic practice. So the first one is a CA, right? A chiropractic assistant. Now, a CA is someone who obviously is a chiropractic assistant. They're assisting the chiropractor. And typically this is the first CA you hire. We recommend you hire them before you even open your practice. So if you're considering opening a practice, we recommend you hire the CA before your first day you're open. But if you're in practice growth stage 1 and you haven't hired a CA yet, we recommend you hire one, because it's going to dramatically increase your margin, your ability to see more people and help more people in your community. Doctors who stay solo, meaning solo without a CA, it makes it extremely difficult for them to grow out of practice growth stage 1 and almost impossible to grow out of practice growth stage 2. Probably it is impossible to grow out of practice growth stage 2 without a CA. And so the easier or the earlier you hire a CA, the better. So that's the first one. And a CA in that circumstance, practice growth stage 1 type of CA, is going to need to be a kind of someone who does everything, right? They're going to do everything within the practice. They're going to work with new patients. They're going to work with existing patients. They're going to answer phones. They're going to help you in the back. They're going to do lots of different things, and that's fine. They're going to be able to do that because, in practice growth stage 1, you're not seeing a lot of patients. You're able to really, have this person be able to do a lot of different things, and you be able to continue to grow the practice. Now, the next stage, when you're in practice growth stage 2, there may be a time where you take your original CA and you turn them into a new patient coordinator. Now, you also can do this later on in, say, practice growth stage 3 or even 4, is to hire someone specific who can be a new patient coordinator. But either way, if you take an existing CA and you turn them into a new patient coordinator, or you hire someone specifically for this role, a new patient coordinator is someone who is going to focus on the entire new patient experience, right? And this starts with following up with leads, right? So you have leads that are coming into your world, and the new patient coordinator is going to connect with those potential new patients and bring them into the practice, and then through that whole new patient experience. So they're really you want them to own from the initial contact with the lead all the way through the signing of the care plan and the scheduling out of that patient, right? So that whole process, that's what a new patient coordinator owns in their role. And their KRAs, their KPIs, everything is focused around that whole process. Like I said, you can take an existing CA, turn them into a new patient coordinator if you're building to a certain level. And if you're hiring, say, a second CA, maybe, like as I mentioned, maybe you're at 30, 35,000 per month, and you realize, hey, you know what, my original CA, it's too much for them at this point. We need a second CA. When you hire the second CA, what we recommend is you then take one of those two CAs and you turn them into a new patient coordinator. So that one of your CAs focused on new patients, the whole new patient experience from lead all the way through care plan conversion. And the other CA focuses on existing patients. They focus on building, relationships and retention, and, increasing your PVA and those types of KRAs and KPIs that are so crucial for the practice as well, right? And some of this will come down to the personalities of your CA. Like if you have an original CA that you hired in practice growth stage 1, and now you're in practice growth stage 2, collecting over $20,000 per month. And this CA, you see that they're really good at the new patient experience. Then convert them into a new patient coordinator, hire somebody else to really focus on your existing patients. Or if you see, man, they're really good at connecting with existing patients. They're great at building relationships. They're great at really being that heart of the practice. Then have them focus on the existing patient relationships and hire somebody else to focus on the new patients, right? So those are some really key roles within a growing upper cervical practice. Now, the next one is, as you are in practice growth stage 2, you're in that solo practice collecting more than $20,000 per month, and you're at that point where, you've checked all the boxes, you're ready to hire your first associate, go to a 2-doctor practice. That's when the associate doctor becomes so important, right? Bringing them in, bringing someone in that has shared values, that's teachable, that's aligned with your mission is crucial at that point. So you can go from practice growth stage 2 to 3 and have 2 doctors in the practice and greatly increase your capacity. And the last key role in a growing upper cervical practice is an office manager. Typically, an office manager is somebody that you wouldn't hire or you wouldn't promote someone up into that level until you're at least in practice growth stage 3, right? It definitely, if you're in practice growth stage 4, you would definitely want an office manager. But a lot of times at the tail end or the higher level of practice growth stage 3, an office manager makes sense. And really what an office manager does is they are going to run your systems, right? And they're going to free you up to lead and do the things that only you can do. And they're going to be more focused on, the team development and accountability of the team and connecting with the patients and really just running the day-to-day of the practice. And so these are 4 key roles in a growing upper cervical practice that, depending on where you are in your growth stages, you may be looking at these different roles to hire right now. So I wanted to mention this because, a major sticking point for a long time within upper cervical practice has been hiring associates, right? And because of that, this is something that we've been working on for many years to get right. And we launched it earlier this year, and it's been a great success. We've already been placing associates within practices, and that is our associate recruitment program. And what this is it connects you with pre-qualified upper cervical associates who fit your technique, philosophy, and culture. It's really about hiring smarter, not faster. Find people who share your vision, right? Connect with them. We have our upper cervical talent network that we're building with students and doctors who are looking for associates. And then we're getting more and more doctors who are coming to us for associate recruitment, and us being able to really matchmake and connect the two different groups that we're collecting has been a really big win for upper cervical. And so if you are in that practice growth stage 2, you're looking to hire your very first associate, we're going to take you through the whole process, right? We're going to take you through the before, which is so important, really defining the position, defining what are those KRAs, those KPIs, those key things, so that you can get the right person, right? Because that's the key, is you want to make sure that the expectations are set very clearly for an associate hire, and then you are able to really describe that when we get you on every possible job posting site and all that. We have you create a video talking about the position. We build out a funnel for you so that we can have the candidates flow into a dashboard for you so you can see who's available. And then we even help you through the interview process, right? We'll be in the interviews with you. We'll ask questions that you might not know to ask. We'll help you discuss these candidates even after the interviews, right? So we're going to help you through this whole process so that you can be confident, you can feel confident in your ability to hire an associate, even if it's your very first associate that you're hiring. And then we don't leave you even after you've hired them, right? We're going to stay connected with you during those first 90 days and help you to really have, clear accountability tools. Even during the hiring process itself, we'll help you prepare your offer letter, your salary and benefits package. We'll help you develop your position agreement, which is, basically like a contract that you'll have the associate sign and really get dialed in with what you are wanting them to do when they come into this position. And then we'll work with you on a job scorecard so you can hold them accountable to the results you're looking for them to accomplish, and then really work with you on a 90-day onboarding plan. So you can teach them everything that they need to know to be very well trained and ready to contribute in your practice. And so that's our associate recruitment program. It's a start to finish, A to Z. Let's get you from, let's make sure you're ready to hire an associate all the way to you've got an associate in the practice who's doing fantastic and really helping you to continue to grow your practice. And so if you're interested in the associate recruitment program, just go to ucmgrow.com and click on Start Growing, schedule an appointment, and we can tell you more about the associate recruitment program and how you can get started with it. So let's talk a little bit more about what's changed in 2025. Top talent have options. People want more than a paycheck, right? They want purpose, they want growth, and they want culture. Compensation matters, but mission and flexibility matter more. And so let me tell you more about that. So the average workforce trends based on the information that's out there this year, average salary increase about 3.7%. Not dramatic, right? Slight increase in salaries, not very, not a huge number. But benefits and culture now outrank pay for retention based on data from this year. Employees will take slightly less money for the right environment, right? So that's the key, is the right environment. What is your culture like? How mission focused are you? How purpose driven are you? That's the key to really getting great people on board with your team. And so what do great practices offer? They offer more than just pay, right? They offer clear career paths and mentorship, right? To really have a defined understanding of what an associate doctor wants. Like, why are they accepting this position with you? If you don't have good clarity on that, it's hard for you to really have a clear career path for them. And it's hard for you to mentor them well, right? Are they someone who's coming in because they want to learn how to run their own practice? Awesome. If you know that on the front end, you guys can work on that together. You can talk about what they're going to need to know in order to be successful in practice all along the way. Or is it someone who's coming in and they want to be a long-term associate? They want to be there for 5 years, 10 years, whatever, or throughout their whole career, right? Again, it's important to know that on the front end so you can really effectively mentor them and help them to see how they can still grow within the practice, even if they don't leave the practice. Flexible schedules and partnership potential. Okay, so this is something else to be thinking about when you're looking at associate positions, is how can you balance their schedule in such a way that it makes sense for them. I mean, if you're expecting them to work 7 days a week, then that's not going to be the kind of culture that most people are going to want to come into, right? So especially if someone is coming in as a long-term associate, if someone's coming in as a long-term associate, they have a mindset that says, I don't want to own my own practice, right? There's a lot of different reasons why someone would say that. And there's a lot of great reasons why someone would say that. And so to understand what their mindset is coming in the front end, so that, if they're like, hey, I want to be able to have weekends off and spend time with my family. So you have that dialed into your practice and you're like, okay, you're off every weekend, right? You're going to enjoy time with your family, right? You have that built in. Or if someone is coming in with a mindset that, hey, I want to be a partner in this practice, or I want to own this practice, right? You have that understanding on the front end so that you can really develop a plan with them to get to that place together. Other things that great practices offer is making sure that you're taking care of their continuing education and you're investing in their growth, right? If you're, upper cervical specifically, you want them to grow in the technique, right? Whatever the technique is that you are practicing within your practice, you want them to grow through the certification process that's involved in that. You want to invest in them in their development in the technique, but you also want to invest in them in their development as an upper cervical chiropractor in general, right? How are they what kind of investment are you making into them when it comes to their coaching? Do you have communication tools that they can learn from? Do you have people who are mentoring them, coaching them, walking them through? This is something that we have been able to do and been blessed to do with quite a few offices now, is when a clinic director hires an associate, especially a first associate, sometimes they don't know how, they've been successful in their own practice, but sometimes they have a hard time communicating that effectively to an associate. And so we've come in and helped coach. We've helped with our practice growth sessions, right? We helped focus on specific things with doctors so that they can learn the communication skills, learn the things that they need in order to properly, present a care plan or properly interact with existing patients to generate referrals. Like these skills and tools, sometimes doctors, clinic directors, they've had a personality driven practice. They've just kind of done it because that's who they are as a person, but they're not able to teach it in the same way. And so we can really help come alongside you and really help you to develop systems so that an associate can thrive within your practice, and they don't have to just be you. They can be them within your system and be successful. Another thing that's key with great practices, what they offer is a mission-driven workplace that inspires. This is huge, right? Over the years, if you've been listening to this podcast, we constantly talk about the importance of having a purpose-driven practice, a purpose, a clear purpose of the doctor that translates into a practice mission. And that when you bring on an associate, really, or anyone, if you bring on a CA, if you bring on office manager, new patient coordinator, whatever, them having a clear understanding of what your mission is and why you do what you do every day is crucial, right? You want them to understand, hey, we bring hope and healing to sick and suffering people here every day. And that will encourage them, inspire them. If they're the right kind of person, right, they're going to be excited about that mission. And that's what great practices offer. The other thing to keep in mind here, I mentioned this as part of our associate recruitment program, is that we help the doctors who are in that program with the onboarding of their associates. But onboarding is crucial for not just associates, it's crucial for every team member that you bring on into the practice. Onboarding is, the hiring is absolutely crucial, but if you really want someone to thrive in your practice, focus on the onboarding. Help them to get equipped, to get a good understanding, because onboarding isn't just, it's not just this tactical thing in the sense of what the big why is behind it, but really it's about culture transfer. Onboarding is culture transfer. You're bringing them into your culture, into your world, and teaching them what it means to work here. What does it mean to be part of this team? What do we value, right? We talk a lot about core values on this podcast, and that's crucial when you have a upper cervical practice. What are your core values, and how do you train new team members to really get them, to really get like, hey, this is what we are. This is who we are as a company. This is who we are and how we take care of people. Those core values is really crucial. These first 90 days will determine your retention when it comes to team members almost every single time. And so it's crucial that you don't just teach what they do, but show them why it matters, right? Let me, example. If you're teaching someone how to follow your new patient phone call checklist, for instance, if you don't communicate the why behind what they're doing, then they're not going to get it. They're not going to speak from the heart. They're not going to really have that drive to schedule that new patient. If you really get that dialed in with them, though, and say, so listen, this person's calling, they are sick and suffering. They've been searching for answers. They've been out there looking for a way to get well, and they've finally found us. And so why it matters is because that person needs us, and it's your job to connect with them and bring them into this practice so we can help them, right? That's the power of a why. Communicating that why to your CAs, to your new patient coordinators, to your associates, to your office managers is crucial during onboarding. When people catch your why, they stay, right? We talk about this a lot with patients. When patients get the big idea, they are great, they're much better patients, but your team members, it's the same thing. They've got to get the big idea as well. So aligning new team members to a vision is crucial, right? Start with your patient success stories on day one, right? If you got a new team member in the practice, start helping them to understand what you do there by having them watch video testimonials from patients, reading Google reviews, talking to patients about their, where they were before they came to this practice and where they are now. Begin to reinforce that mission consistently through patient stories. And then define success clearly for every role. You want people to have clear expectations and be able to meet those expectations because they understand them. Culture before checklist equals retention, right? So it's not just about, hey, follow this checklist. It's we're going to follow this checklist because of our mission, right? That's the key at aligning new team members to vision. Here's a real world example of this. A doctor replaced technical onboarding with mission storytelling. His associate stayed 5 years and now leads a satellite office. If you lead with purpose and not paperwork, people get it and stay long-term. And there's huge ROI in investing in your team. Retention saves thousands annually. Stable teams create more referrals and better care. So connecting culture will lead to consistency, and that will lead to growth, right? You can't outmarket a bad culture. If you focus on your culture, if you focus on your team culture and how you can more effectively connect with them and them connect to the mission, and then that translate into how they take care of people and the consistency with which they do that, that will lead to more and more growth, not just in your practice, but also in your individual team members as well. Culture builds consistency. Consistency builds trust, and trust builds long-term patient relationships. If you invest in leadership and culture, it compounds faster than any ad budget could. And like I said, we are here to help you every step of the way. Practice growth stage 1 all the way through 7. We love to help doctors grow. We love to help you bring hope and healing to sick and suffering people. That's what our mission is. And we know that that's your mission as well. And so we love to connect with you and help you no matter where you are and where you might be stuck, right? Our practice growth sessions are a great way to clarify goals, to identify bottlenecks, and to strengthen your team structure. A focused plan beats random hiring every time. And so if you're in that place where you're thinking, man, I really need to hire one of these roles that I've discussed today, our practice growth sessions is a great place to start. It's a month-by-month program. We just focus on whatever the issue is that you want to focus on, and we work with you on that. And whenever you feel like, hey, this is good, I got it, then we stop the sessions, right? Simple as that. And so if you want to learn more about our practice growth sessions, just go to ucmgrow.com. That's ucmgrow.com. Click on Start Growing, schedule an appointment there. We can tell you more about the practice growth sessions. And before you hire again, I would encourage you, doc, to ask yourself, is my practice truly ready to scale, right? This is so common with doctors who are thinking they're about to hire an associate, is they haven't really looked at some of the things that are most important to have in place before an associate comes into their practice. Another question to ask yourself are my systems and my leadership stable enough for growth? And this is two really crucial questions that can be answered and you can identify by using a simple tool. And that's our practice scaling readiness checklist. Our practice scaling readiness checklist is a free resource, and it's a diagnostic tool to really help you identify if you're ready to scale your practice. It reveals strengths and gaps in systems, in leadership, and in culture. And it's used by top upper cervical practices before expanding. We actually use this exact checklist as an initial tool, one of the tools we use to identify if a practice is ready to scale in our associate recruitment program. And so highly recommend you go and download this free tool. You can get it over at the website, ucmgrow.com. Just click on resources and practice growth tools. You'll find it there. It is the practice scaling readiness checklist. And like I said, everything that I've talked about today, the associate recruitment program, the practice growth sessions, and the practice scaling readiness checklist can all be found at our website, ucmgrow.com. And the goal with everything that we do is to help you to accomplish your mission, to help more people in your community, to grow your practice. And what we talked about today is we want to help you build that scalable foundation, right? And be able to grow through the different practice growth stages. We want you to avoid costly hiring mistakes, because that's no fun to be able to have turnover in your practice. And really what it is create a thriving team that grows with you into the next practice growth stage. So thank you so much, docs, for listening today. And as we always say, go team upper cervical.